One story, one decision. Everything changed. The first time I watched the footage, I had to stop it after 90 seconds and walk out to my car and sit there with the engine off until my hands stopped shaking. I want to tell you that I stayed calm, because calm is what got me through the rest of it. That first 90 seconds, I was not calm. I was a man sitting in a parking lot outside a coffee shop on Birch Street, looking at his phone, watching his 8-year-old daughter carry a plate of food out of a warm kitchen and into a cold garage, and sit down on an overturned bucket to eat alone, because the woman I had let into our lives had told her that is where she belonged. The camera was inside a stuffed rabbit named Mr. Buttons. I will get to how it got there, and why, because that part matters, and because I need you to understand that I did not start out as a man who hides cameras in his daughter's toys. I started out as a man who believed the woman he married when she smiled and said she loved his little girl. I want to walk you through the whole thing, in order, the way it happened, because the order is the only way it makes sense. My name is Mark. I am 39 years old, and I live in a town outside Columbus, Ohio, the kind of place where the same 4 families have run the same 4 businesses for 40 years, and everyone waves at the 4-way stop whether they know you or not. I am a project manager for a company that installs commercial refrigeration, walk-in coolers for grocery stores and restaurants, which means I travel for work more than I would like, usually 2 or 3 nights a week, sometimes more when a job runs long. I tell you about the travel now because the travel is the hole that everything else crawled through. If I had been home every night, none of this happens. I have made my peace with that, mostly. My daughter is named Lily. She was 8 when this started, in the fall of 2023. She has a gap between her front teeth that she is self-conscious about, and a way of organizing her crayons by a system only she understands, and she does not like loud voices, which is the detail that turned out to matter most. Her mother, my first wife, Sarah, died when Lily was 4. A car accident on Route 33 in November of 2019, a wet road, and a driver who ran a light. And I am not going to spend this story on that, except to say that for 3 years it was just Lily and me, and we were a small, careful team, and I thought the worst thing that would ever happen to my daughter had already happened. I was wrong about that, which is the thing I will carry. I met Diane in early 2023. A friend introduced us, the way people do when they decide a widower has been alone long enough. She was 41, divorced, no children of her own, worked as an office manager for a dental practice 2 towns over. She was warm in the way that is easy to fall for when you are tired and lonely and raising a child by yourself. She remembered things. She asked about Lily by name before she asked about me. On our 3rd date, she brought Lily a coloring book, the expensive kind with the thick paper, and she had picked it because it was all horses, and Lily had been drawing horses for a year. I remember thinking that a woman who notices that a 4-year-old loves horses and remembers it is a woman who pays attention. I was right that she paid attention. I was wrong about what she paid attention to. We married in June of 2023, a small ceremony in her sister's backyard, maybe 30 people. Lily was the flower girl. There is a photograph from that day that sat on our mantle for the better part of a year, Diane kneeling down with her arm around Lily, both of them laughing at something off camera, and for a long time that photograph was the proof I pointed to in my own head whenever something fell off. Look how happy they are. Look how she loves her. I kept that photograph doing a lot of work. The changes were small at first, and that is how these things go. They are always small at first, small enough that naming them out loud makes you feel paranoid and unfair. The first thing I noticed was that Lily got quieter when I came home from a trip. Not sad exactly, just careful, the way she got around loud voices, except there were no loud voices that I could see. She would hug me at the door and then watch Diane, a quick little glance, the kind of glance that I told myself I was imagining. I asked Lily once, that fall if everything was okay while I was gone, and she said yes, and she said it too fast, and I let it go because Diane was standing in the kitchen doorway smiling, and I felt like a fool for even asking. Looking back, the bucket should have told me. In October, I came home from a 4-day job in Indianapolis and went to put something in the garage, and there was a 5-gallon paint bucket turned upside down next to the chest freezer and a folding TV tray beside it. And I did not think anything of it, because why would I? A bucket in a garage is a bucket in a garage. I know now that my daughter had already been eating out there for at least a few weeks by then. I walked right past it. I've thought about that bucket more times than I can count. At the time, I believed Diane. Now I know almost everything she told me was a lie. What I was told by Diane over those months was a slow, steady drip of small concerns delivered in the voice of a woman who only wanted what was best. Lily was a picky eater, Diane said, and made a fuss at dinner, and it was disrupting the household. Lily was messy, Diane said, and got food everywhere, and it was hard to keep a nice home that way. Lily needed structure, Diane said, more than I had been giving her as a single father doing his best, and Diane was happy to provide it, because she loved her. She really did. She just thought Lily needed firmer boundaries than a grieving dad had been able to set. Every one of those sentences had a hook in it, and the hook was always the same. You have not been here. You do not know. Let me handle it. And I was not there, and I did not know, so I let her handle it. What was true I would not learn for months, and I only learned it because of a rabbit. Mr. Buttons was Sarah's last gift to Lily. My first wife bought that stuffed rabbit at a hospital gift shop when Lily was born, gray with a white belly and floppy ears and a little stitched nose, and Lily had carried it every day of her life since. By 2023, it was more gray-brown than gray, and one ear had been resewn twice, once by Sarah and once by me, and the white belly was the color of weak tea. Lily took it everywhere. School, the car, the dinner table, sleepovers at her grandmother's. If you knew Lily, you knew Mr. Buttons. He was part of her the way her gap teeth were part of her. In December of 2023, the ear tore again. Lily came to me crying, holding the rabbit and the loose ear, and I told her I would fix it. And that night after she went to bed, I sat at the kitchen table with a needle and the gray thread I keep in a coffee can, and I started to sew. And while I had Mr. Buttons open at the seam, turning him over in my hands, I had a thought that I am not proud of and will never regret. I thought I could put something in here. I want to be honest about where that thought came from, because it did not come from nowhere. 3 days earlier, I had come home a day early from a job in Cincinnati, walked in around 4 in the afternoon, and found Lily sitting on the floor of her room with the lights off. Not crying, just sitting with Mr. Buttons, in the dark, the way you sit when you have learned that being quiet and small and out of the way is the safest thing to be. When she saw me, she lit up and ran to me, and over her shoulder, I saw Diane appear in the hallway with a smile that arrived a half-second too late. That half-second. I have built my whole life since on that half-second. So I sat at the kitchen table with my daughter's rabbit open in my hands, and I made a decision. I drove to the electronics store out on Sawmill Road the next morning, a Saturday, while Diane was at her sister's and Lily was watching cartoons, and I told the kid working the counter that I wanted the smallest camera they had, something with audio, something that ran on a battery and saved to a card or to a phone. He showed me 3. I bought the one the size of a shirt button, a little black disc with a pinhole lens, $49, and a 32-gigabyte card to go with it, and a pack of the tiny batteries it took. I felt sick the whole drive home. I want that on the record. I did not feel clever. I felt like a man who had run out of other ideas. That night, I opened the seam on Mr. Buttons a little wider, and I tucked the camera up behind the stitched nose where the fabric was thin enough that the lens could see through the weave if you knew to look for it. and I sewed a little pocket of fabric to hold it steady, and I closed the ear back up with Sarah's old gray thread, and I gave the rabbit back to my daughter at breakfast and told her he was good as new. She hugged him and she hugged me, and I drove to a job in Dayton with a camera sewn into my dead wife's last gift to our child, and I told myself I was being paranoid, and I hoped to God I was. I was not paranoid. I need to explain how the camera worked, because it matters for what comes later. It did not stream live. A little camera like that, sewn inside a rabbit, cannot send video over the air for very long before the battery dies. What it did was record to the card whenever it detected motion and sound, and I could pull the card and watch the footage, or, if I was close enough on the same network, pull the files to my phone over a short-range connection the kid on Sawmill Road had set up for me. So I did not see anything in real time. What I did, every few days when I was home, was wait until Lily was asleep, take Mr. Buttons gently off her bed, pull the files, and put him back before morning. She never knew. That is the part that still keeps me up. For 3 weeks, my little girl carried the truth around with her all day, hugged it at night, and never knew she was carrying it, and neither did the woman who needed so badly for no one to be watching. The first few days of footage were almost nothing. Breakfast sounds, the TV, Lily talking to the rabbit the way kids do, narrating her day to him in that low private voice. And I will tell you that listening to my daughter tell a stuffed animal about a girl at school named Madison who would not share the good markers was the only part of those recordings that did not hurt. I almost stopped. 3 days in, I had a card full of cartoons and crayons and a little girl's running commentary, and I felt ashamed of myself, and I nearly took the camera out. Then came the recording from the 14th of December, a Thursday, when I was in Pittsburgh for 2 nights, and everything changed. The recording started at 5:42 in the evening. I know the time because the camera stamped it, a small thing I was grateful for later. Lily was at the kitchen table doing homework, the rabbit propped against the fruit bowl facing her, which is why the lens caught the whole room. You could hear Diane moving around, the clink of dishes, the oven timer. Ordinary house sounds. Then Diane set a plate down, and I heard her say, in a voice I had never once heard her use in front of me, flat and bored and a little disgusted, "Not in here. You know the rule. Take it out to your spot." And my daughter, without arguing, without a sound, picked up her plate and her fork and her cup of milk, balanced them the careful way an 8-year-old balances things she is afraid to drop, and walked off camera toward the door to the garage. I heard the door open. I heard it close. The recording kept going, and for the next 20 minutes you could hear Diane in the kitchen, humming, scrolling something on her phone, the TV going in the other room, while my daughter ate dinner alone in an unheated garage in December in Ohio. I watched that part 4 times. The 4th time I noticed something I had missed, because the first 3 times I could not hear anything over the sound of my own blood. About 8 minutes in, very faint, from the direction of the garage, you can hear Lily talking. Not crying, talking, in that low private voice, and after the 3rd listen with the volume all the way up in my ear against the phone, I could make out that she was talking to Mr. Buttons, the rabbit she had left propped on the kitchen table, except of course she did not have him. He was on the table recording her empty chair, so she was talking to him from memory, out loud, in the cold, telling a stuffed rabbit who was not there about her day. She said, and I have this part written down word for word because I have listened to it more times than is healthy. "It's okay. Daddy comes home Friday. We just have to be good until Friday. We just have to be good." She had made the 2 of them a team, her and the rabbit, the way she and I had been a team, and the job of the team was to be good enough to survive until Friday. I was in a hotel room in Pittsburgh on a Thursday night, and I did the math on we just have to be good until Friday, and I understood that my daughter had a countdown running in her head every week. that the days I was gone had become days to be endured, and that she had never once told me because she had decided, at 8 years old, that it was her job to protect me from it. That is the moment the shaking started, the shaking I told you about at the beginning. I did not drive home that night, and I want to explain why, because it is the hinge the whole story turns on. Every instinct in my body said get in the truck, drive the 4 hours, walk in at midnight, take my daughter, and never look back. I sat on the edge of that hotel bed with my keys in my hand. What stopped me was a cold, clear thought that cut right through the rage, and the thought was this: if I drive home tonight and explode, I have one bad recording and a furious story and a wife who will cry and apologize and tell me I misunderstood, that it was a one-time thing, that Lily had spilled something and been asked to eat in the garage just that once, that I was overreacting because I felt guilty about traveling. And some part of me, the part that had kept that mantle photograph doing all that work, might want to believe her. I needed more than one night. I needed it to be undeniable. I needed it documented so completely that no amount of crying could talk me out of what I had seen with my own eyes. So I did the hardest thing I have ever done. I stayed in Pittsburgh, I finished the job, and I let the camera keep running for 11 more days. 11 days. I will answer the question you are asking, because I have asked it of myself 1,000 times. Yes, I left my daughter in that house for 11 more days knowing what was happening. I will carry that too. I decided that 11 days of evidence that would let me take her permanently was worth more than one night of rage that might let Diane explain it away and leave Lily in that house for years. I might be wrong. A better man might have driven home. I drove home on Friday, like always, and I hugged my daughter at the door, and I smiled at my wife, and I started building a case. What those 11 days held, I will tell you, though I will not make you sit through all of it. The garage was not occasional. It was the rule on the nights I was away, and sometimes on nights I was home, but working late. Diane had a system. When I was in the house, dinner was at the table, all three of us, Diane warm and attentive, asking Lily about her day, cutting her food, the picture of a stepmother. The performance was flawless. I had been eating at that table for months believing it was real. The recordings from the nights I was gone showed the same kitchen, the same woman, a different person inside her. Short flat commands. Take it out to your spot. The rule. Lily moving without argument because she had already learned that arguing made it worse. I learned what made it worse, too, because the camera caught that on the 18th. Lily, very quietly, asked if she could eat inside just that night because it was cold. Asked politely, the way I taught her. Diane did not yell. I almost wish she had yelled, because a yell is a thing you can point to. Instead, she said, in that bored, flat voice, "If you ask me that again, Mr. Buttons goes in the trash. Do you understand me? The actual trash, on Tuesday, with the cans out front. Now take your plate." And my daughter went silent in the particular way I knew from when she was around loud voices, except Diane was not loud. She had found something quieter and worse, and Lily took her plate to the garage without another word. And the rabbit on the table recorded all of it, and recorded the thing that broke me, which was Lily whispering to herself as she went, not even to the rabbit this time, just to herself, "Friday, Friday, Friday." The threat to the rabbit told me something useful, as cold as that sounds. It told me Diane understood exactly what she was doing. She'd figured out the one thing Lily was terrified of losing and used it against her. That was not a stressed stepmother losing her patience. That was control applied with precision by someone who knew that Lily would never tell me because Lily believed she could lose Mr. Buttons if she did. Diane had built a prison with one rule and one thread, and she had built it specifically for the days she knew I would not be there to see it. For a while, I worried nobody would believe me. After all, who hides a camera inside a child's stuffed rabbit and then claims his wife was making his daughter eat in a garage. Then I listened to the recording again. The garage, the bucket, the threat. Lily counting down the days until I came home. At some point, whether anyone believed me stopped mattering. The truth was there. I stopped feeling guilty about the camera after the 18th. I want to be honest about that shift, because it happened in a single moment, listening to my daughter whisper the days of the week to herself in a cold garage. Whatever shame I had about hiding a lens in her rabbit, it burned off and did not come back. The camera was the only voice my daughter had, because Diane had made sure she would not use her own. Now I need to tell you what I did with the 11 days, because rage without a plan is just noise, and I had learned a long time ago, in a job where a wrong measurement floods a grocery store, that the work is in the preparation. The first thing I did, on the Saturday after Pittsburgh, was back everything up. I did not trust a single 32 gigabyte card sewn inside a rabbit to hold the only copy of the thing that was going to protect my daughter. Every few days when I pulled the files, I copied them to my work laptop, and from the laptop to 2 separate cloud accounts that Diane did not know existed and could not have guessed the passwords to, and onto a small drive I kept in the locked toolbox in the bed of my truck, the one place in my life Diane never went. For copies of everything, in 4 places. I labeled the files by date. I am a project manager. Documentation is the thing I am good at, and for the first time in my life, it was the thing standing between my daughter and that garage. The second thing I did was find a lawyer, quietly, in a town far enough away that no one Diane knew would mention it. Her name was Rachel Okonkwo, a family law attorney with an office above a bakery in Dublin, Ohio, and I took a half day. I told work was a doctor's appointment, and I sat across her desk, and I put my phone on it, and I played her 90 seconds of the 14th. She watched without saying anything. When it finished, she asked me 3 questions. She asked whether I had a custody arrangement that included Diane, and I said no, Lily was mine. Diane had never adopted her, and there had never been any paper making her anything but my wife. She asked whether anyone else could confirm the household pattern, and I said Lily's grandmother, my late wife's mother, who had mentioned more than once that Lily seemed quiet lately. And she asked whether I was prepared for the marriage to end, fully, with no door left open. And I said I had been prepared since the 14th of December at 5:42 in the evening. Rachel told me some things I needed to hear. She told me that what Diane was doing had a name in Ohio, that sustained mistreatment of a child in your care is not a private family matter, and that the recordings, made in my own home, on my own child, by me her custodial father, were almost certainly mine to use in a custody and divorce proceeding, even though Ohio is a state where you generally need consent to record people. She said she would want a family law judge to see the pattern, the dates, the repetition, the calm of it, because the calm was the worst part and the most convincing. She told me not to confront Diane, not yet, because a person who is that controlled when she thinks no one is watching can become unpredictable when she learns that someone was. She told me to keep my face normal at the dinner table for a little while longer and to get Lily out of the house first, before anything else happened. That last part is the only instruction I broke, and I broke it carefully, and I will tell you how. I could not get Lily out without tipping Diane off, not cleanly, not with my travel schedule and the holidays bearing down. So I did the next thing. I started changing the variables, quietly, to protect my daughter in the days before I could end it. I told my company, the week before Christmas, that I needed to stop the overnight travel for personal reasons, and my manager, a decent man named Carl who had known me for 9 years, did not ask questions and moved me to local jobs. Just like that, the nights I was away went from 3 a week to 0. Diane could not run her system if I was home every night, and she could not object to her husband suddenly being home for dinner every evening without sounding insane. So the garage stopped, because I was always there. And for 2 weeks, my daughter ate every dinner at the table with both of us. And the performance came back on. Warm Diane, attentive Diane, and Lily watched her with that careful glance and could not understand why the rule had lifted. And I sat there and ate and smiled and knew. I kept the camera in the rabbit the whole time. Not because I expected the garage to happen with me home, but because I wanted Diane's ordinary voice, her normal range, recorded right up against the recordings from the nights I was gone, so that no one could claim the cruel voice was an aberration, a bad day, a moment taken out of context. I wanted the judge to hear the same woman, 3 nights apart, be 2 completely different people depending on whether my truck was in the driveway. The difference between those recordings told the story better than I ever could. You do not tell a restaurant owner the cooler is cold. You show him the same thermometer in 2 places. Over those weeks, I gathered the rest of it, the parts that were not on the camera. I called Sarah's mother, Lily's grandmother, a woman named Eileen who lives in Marysville and who had never warmed to Diane in a way she could not explain and felt guilty about. I did not tell Eileen everything on the phone. I drove out to her place on a Sunday while Diane thought I was at the hardware store, and I sat in her kitchen and I asked her to tell me everything she had noticed about Lily over the last 6 months. Every small thing, even the things she had talked herself out of. Eileen got quiet, and then she told me. She told me that Lily had stopped finishing her food when Eileen took her to lunch, that she would wrap half her sandwich in a napkin and put it in her pocket, and when Eileen asked why, Lily said she was saving it for later in case. In case. An 8-year-old does not save half a grilled cheese in her pocket in case, unless she has learned that food is not guaranteed. Eileen had noticed and not understood, and when I told her what I knew, she put both hands over her mouth and cried at her own kitchen table. And then she said, "What do you need me to do?" And I told her, soon, I would need her to tell a judge exactly what she told me. She said she would. I gathered the small physical things too, because Rachel had told me that a pattern is built from many small confirmations. I found, in the back of the garage, behind the chest freezer, a stack of paper plates and plastic forks that did not match anything in our kitchen, the cheap kind, bought separately, kept out there. Diane had not even let Lily eat off the real plates. She had set up a separate supply for the garage, the way you keep a separate bowl for a dog. I photographed them where they sat. I did not move them. Rachel had said, "Do not move anything. Photograph it in place with the date on your phone." And so I did. And that stack of cheap plates behind the freezer became one more page in a file that was getting thicker every week. Christmas happened in the middle of all this. And I have to tell you about Christmas, because Christmas is when I almost lost my grip on the plan. Diane bought Lily gifts. Plenty of them, wrapped beautifully. And on Christmas morning, she was the warm Diane, the mantle photograph Diane, helping Lily with the ribbons, and Eileen was there, watching everything now that she knew. And the 2 of us caught eyes once across the living room over the wrapping paper, and I had to look away because I was afraid of what my face would do. Lily got a horse model she had wanted, a particular one, and she was happy, genuinely happy, and Diane had picked it out. And that is the thing about people like Diane that makes them so hard to leave. The cruelty and the coloring book come from the same hand. The horse model on Christmas morning and the cold garage on the 14th were the same woman. And a child cannot hold those 2 things at once. So a child decides the warm one is real and the cold one is her own fault. I watched my daughter beam at a stepmother who had threatened to throw her dead mother's rabbit in the trash. And I understood that the longer this went on, the more Lily would come to believe she deserved the garage. That was the day the countdown started running in my head, the same as it had been running in hers. Not Friday, a different word. Soon, after New Year's, Rachel told me we had enough. More than enough. She told me she had reviewed all of it, dated and organized, the recordings, the photographs, Eileen's account. and that she was ready to file, and that the cleanest way to do this was to get Lily out of the house and into my soul care on the same day Diane was served, so that there was no night in between, no scene with Lily in the house. We set a date, the 14th of January, exactly 1 month after the recording that started it. I did not plan the symmetry. I noticed it later. I need to tell you about the last week, because Diane, who had no idea any of this existed, did something in that last week that told me I had been right not to wait, and right not to give her the benefit of the doubt one more time. I had to travel one more time. A job in Toledo went sideways, a coil failure at a regional grocery chain, and Carl asked me if there was any way I could take one overnight, just one, and I could not say no without explaining why, and I was not going to explain why to anyone but a judge. So I went to Toledo for one night, the 9th of January, 5 days before the date Rachel and I had set, and I left the camera and the rabbit, and I did something I had not done in weeks. I pulled the files remotely that night from my hotel because I could not stand not knowing, and I watched in close to real time as the rule came back the instant my truck left the driveway. That last night in Toledo, the 9th of January, the camera caught the worst of it, and the worst of it was not a raised voice or a slammed door. It was a conversation. Lily was eating in the garage, on the bucket, and the recording is mostly the sound of a small fork on a cheap plate and the hum of the freezer. Then the garage door from the kitchen opened, and Diane's footsteps came in, and she sat down on something, a step stool maybe, and she talked to my daughter in a voice that was almost gentle, which is what made it the worst thing on all 32 gigabytes. She said, and I have this transcribed exactly, "You know your dad, and I might have a baby someday. A real one. And when that happens, things are going to be different around here, and you're going to need to understand your place. This is good practice. Most kids would be grateful to have a roof at all. Your mom's gone, sweetheart. I'm what you've got. So let's not make this difficult. Your mom's gone, sweetheart. I'm what you've got." She said it kindly. That is the part one need you to understand. She crouched in a cold garage next to an 8-year-old eating off a paper plate, and she told her that her dead mother was gone, and that Diane was the only thing standing between Lily and having nothing at all, and she said it in the voice you would use to comfort a child. And then she went back inside to her warm kitchen and her phone. And Lily, on the recording, said the only thing she said the entire time. She said, "Okay, small, agreeable," the voice of a child who has decided that survival means agreeing. And then, after the door closed, so quiet I had to clean up the audio later to be sure, she said to the empty garage, to the rabbit who was not there, "Daddy comes home tomorrow." I checked out of the hotel at 4:30 in the morning. I did not finish the job in Toledo. I called Carl from the road and told him I had a family emergency and he would need to send someone else. And Carl, who is a better friend than I deserve through all of this, said, "Go. I will handle it." I drove back in the dark with the heater on and my jaw so tight it ached for 2 days. And I called Rachel at 7 a.m. and told her about the 9th, and she listened. And then she said, "We are not waiting until the 14th. We are moving today. Can you get Lily somewhere safe by this afternoon?" I said yes. I had already decided that before I called her. Here is how I did it. And I did it the way Rachel told me, which was without drama, because drama was what would have given Diane room to maneuver. I came home that morning like it was any other morning back from a trip. I hugged Lily. I made her pancakes, the kind with the chocolate chips that Diane did not allow because of the mess, and I made them right there in Diane's kitchen while Diane watched with a look I pretended not to see. And Lily ate them at the table, inside, with her dad, and she watched me make them with an expression I will never forget, like she was trying to memorize it in case it did not happen again. Then I told Diane, easily, that I was taking Lily to her grandmother's for the day because Eileen wanted to see her, which was true, and Diane had no reason to object, and every reason not to make a scene about a child visiting her grandmother. So she smiled and said have fun, and she kissed Lily on the top of the head, and I had to watch my daughter accept that kiss. And then I put Lily in the truck with Mr. Buttons and a backpack I had packed the night before with more in it than a day at Grandma's would need, and I drove away from that house, and Lily never spent another night in it. In the truck, about 10 minutes down the road, Lily was quiet, and then she said, "Daddy, am I in trouble?" And I had to pull over. I pulled into the lot of the same coffee shop on Birch Street where I would later sit and shake, and I turned around in my seat and I looked at my daughter and I said, "No, you are not in trouble. You have never been in trouble. I need to tell you something, and I need you to listen to all of it." And I told her, in words an 8-year-old could hold, that I knew about the garage, that I had known for a little while, that none of it was her fault, not 1 second of it, and that she was never going to eat in that garage again, and that she had not done anything wrong by being quiet about it, because she had been trying to be brave, and she had been brave, but that the being brave was over now, because that was my job, and I had not been doing it well enough, and I was going to do it now. She started crying in the way that children cry when they have been holding something for a long time, which is not loud. It comes out in pieces, and she said, "I didn't want you to be sad." And there it was, the whole thing, the reason she never told me. She had been protecting me. My 8-year-old daughter had eaten dinner on a bucket in a cold garage for months, and had said nothing because she did not want her father to be sad, because she had already watched him be sad once, after her mother, and she had decided she would carry this one herself, so I would not have to. I held onto the back of her seat, and I told her that protecting each other was something we were going to do together from now on, both ways, and that she never had to carry anything that big alone again. Then I drove her to Eileen's, and Eileen was waiting on the porch, and that is where Lily stayed while the rest of it happened. The confrontation, when it came, did not look like the ones people imagine. There was no screaming match in the driveway. Rachel had built it so that the documents did the talking, the same way I had wanted the thermometer to do the talking, and I have come to believe that is the only kind of confrontation worth having with a person like Diane, because she was very good with words and very bad in the face of a record she could not argue with. I went back to the house that afternoon, after Lily was safe at Eileen's, and Rachel had told me what I could and could not say, and she had told me to keep it short and to keep my voice level and to leave the moment she became unpredictable. Diane was in the kitchen. She asked where Lily was, and I said with her grandmother, and she started to say something about dinner, and I put a folder on the kitchen table, the same kitchen table. I had thought about that, putting it on that table, and I am not too proud to admit it. I told her I knew about the garage. I watched her face do the thing I had been waiting to see, the half-second calculation, the same half-second I had caught in the hallway in December, the one where she decided which version of herself to deploy. She chose wounded confusion. She said she did not know what I was talking about, that Lily sometimes liked to eat in the garage because she thought it was fun, like a fort, that I had been traveling and did not understand the little games they played. It was a good lie. Delivered 6 months earlier, it might have worked. She did not know yet what was in the folder, and she did not know about the rabbit, and she was still operating in a world where it was her word against a child's, and she had spent months making sure the child would never speak. I did not argue with her. Arguing was what she was good at. Instead, I told her, calmly, that there was a camera, that there had been a camera since the middle of December, and that it had recorded every dinner, the ones at the table when I was home and the ones in the garage when I was not, and that I had all of it, dated, in 4 places she could not reach, and that my lawyer had it, and that she was going to be served divorce papers, and that a family court was going to watch her crouch in a cold garage and tell my daughter that her dead mother was gone, and that Diane was all she had. I have never seen a person's face change the way hers did. The wounded confusion fell off it like something unclipped, and for just a moment, before she rebuilt herself, I saw the flat-board person from the recordings, the real one, look out at me and understand that the one thing her entire system depended on, that no one was watching, had not been true for a month. She did not cry. She got very still, and she said, "Where was the camera?" Not "how could you?" Not "I can explain." Not "is Lily okay?" Where was the camera? She wanted to know which object had betrayed her. I did not tell her. I was not going to give her Mr. Buttons. I told her my lawyer would be in touch, and I left, the way Rachel had told me to, before it could become anything else. I want to tell you the rest quickly, because the long part of this story is the months it took to see it, and the documentation, and the cold. And once Lily was out and safe, the rest moved faster than I expected. Diane hired a lawyer who, I am told, advised her to settle quickly and quietly the moment he watched the footage, because there was no version of a courtroom that went well for her. The divorce went through with a speed that surprised me. She did not fight for anything, because fighting meant a judge, and a judge meant the recordings, and the recordings meant the careful, warm woman from the dental office and her sister's backyard wedding would become, permanently, in a public record, the woman in the garage. She moved out of the house by the end of February. We never had the screaming fight. I almost wished, some nights, that we had, because the calm of the ending felt too small for what she had done. But Rachel told me something I have held on to. She said, "The goal was never to make her feel it the way you feel it. The goal was to get Lily out and make it permanent. You did that. Do not trade the thing you wanted for the thing that would have felt good for 10 minutes. There were consequences beyond the divorce, and I will tell you about them plainly because people always want to know if she paid." Rachel filed the recordings with more than the divorce court. There are agencies whose job is exactly this, and what Diane did to a child in her care was their business, and they made it their business. I will not pretend I know every detail of what followed for her, because by then I had turned my attention fully to my daughter and away from the woman, which Rachel said was the healthiest thing I could do. What I know is that she did not walk away as though none of it had happened. The record exists. It followed her. That has to be enough, because chasing more than that would have meant living inside it longer than Lily and I already had. What I paid more attention to was Lily, and Lily did not bounce back the way people who have never watched a child go through something like this seem to expect. There was no single morning where she woke up fine. For a while she still wrapped half her food in a napkin without noticing she was doing it, and I learned not to make a thing of it, just to quietly tell her there was more in the fridge whenever she wanted it, that there would always be more, that she never had to save any in case. It took months for the napkin thing to stop. The first time I watched her leave half a sandwich on her plate and walk away without saving it, I went into the other room so she would not see what my face was doing. We started seeing a counselor, a woman named Dr. Pham who specializes in children, and who taught me as much as she taught Lily. She told me that the thing I had done by getting Lily out, and by telling her clearly that none of it was her fault, was the thing that mattered most, but that Lily would need to hear it many times, not once, because a child who has been taught she is a problem does not unlearn it in a single conversation in a truck. So I told her often. I still tell her. She is 10 now, and most nights she is just a kid who argues about bedtime and leaves her crayons everywhere, and the careful glance is mostly gone, and when it comes back, around loud voices or new people, I know what it is now, and I know what to do, which is to be steady and to be there and to not go anywhere. I left the camera in Mr. Buttons for a while, even after Diane was gone. I told myself it was because I had not gotten around to taking it out. The truth is I was afraid to need it again and not have it. Dr. Pham is the one who told me, gently, that a house where the rabbit is still recording is a house that is still braced for the next bad thing. and that Lily would feel that bracing even if she did not know its source. And that part of telling my daughter she was safe was actually believing it myself. So one night, after she was asleep, I took Mr. Buttons off her bed the same way I had 100 times, and I opened the seam with Sarah's gray thread, and I took the little black camera out, and I held it in my hand for a long time. $49. The thing that did what I, with all my traveling and all my faith in the woman I thought I knew, had failed to do for months. I did not throw it away. It is in the locked toolbox in my truck, with the drive that has the copies, and I think it will stay there, because some things you keep not because you want to look at them, but because pretending they never happened is its own kind of lie. I sewed Mr. Buttons back up with nothing inside him but the stuffing Sarah bought him with, and I put him back on Lily's bed before morning, and she carried him to breakfast the way she always had, and he was just a rabbit again. He is just a rabbit. He sits on her bed right now, more gray-brown than gray, with an ear that has been resewn 3 times, by Sarah, by me, and by me again, and Lily has no idea that for 1 month of her life that rabbit was the only thing in the world telling the truth on her behalf. Maybe someday, when she is much older, I will tell her. Maybe I will let her decide what to do with a $49 camera in a locked box. That will be her choice to make, the way so little was her choice to make back then. People who hear this story tend to ask me one of 2 questions. The first is whether I feel guilty about the 11 days, the days I knew and left her in that house to build the case. I do. I will always do. I made a calculation that more evidence meant a permanent rescue instead of a temporary scene, and I believe the calculation was right, and I would probably make it again, and it still costs me sleep, and I have decided those 2 things are allowed to be true at the same time. The second question is whether I regret marrying Diane at all, whether I should have seen it. And the honest answer is that I do not get to regret it cleanly, because the same year that brought Diane into our house is the year I learned exactly how brave my daughter is, and how far she would go to protect me. And I would not give that knowledge back, even though I hate the price she paid for it. I will end with the thing I think about most, which is not Diane at all. It is the math my daughter was doing. Friday, Friday, Friday. She had a countdown running, a private calendar of endurance, and she ran it silently for months and let me walk past a paint bucket in my own garage and never once asked me to save her, because she had decided saving me from sadness was her job. The lesson I took, the one I would hand to anyone who has a child and a person they are not sure about, is that the quiet is the warning, not the tears, the quiet. A child who goes quiet and careful and starts saving food in her pocket is a child running a countdown, and she will not tell you, because she loves you, and because someone has taught her that telling you costs more than she can pay. I almost missed it. A torn rabbit ear and a half-second in a hallway are the only reasons I did not. I have a daughter who eats at the table now, inside, every night, and leaves half her food on the plate without a thought. And that simple act is the thing I worked for. Not the divorce. Not the record that followed Diane. That. A kid who knows there will always be more. Lily eats at the table now. Inside. Warm. Safe. And honestly, that's all I ever wanted. One thing I've always wondered, though, if you were in my position, would you have waited to gather proof, or would you have taken Lily out of that house immediately? I'd really like to hear your answer in the comments. And if you enjoy these stories, consider subscribing. There are a lot more like this coming.